Before you ask the first question, I have to have you each say your names so the person transcribing this can identify the voice and the name.
Stephen Perkins, drummer.
Peter DiStefano, guitar player.
I'm Perry Farrell, I'm the singer.
Martine Lenoble, bass player.
Okay, and the first question was, okay. I didn't know if this was a question for all of you or just for Perry, but is Porno For Pyros like sort of a return to some sort of a street feel? Yeah. Street type of what it is. So this stuff you've done before?
I don't know if you can say it's a return to the street. It's just
No.
us four, and I don't think we're returning anywhere or going. We're going into the future. We're not going backwards.
Yeah.
We're not going backwards. We're going ahead.
We're going out of the street.
Yeah, to me, the streets are like dime store rock and roll. I think is not where we're headed at all. Where we're headed is into the future musically. We are, I finally feel I can call myself a musician as opposed to an entertainer or, in the past, there's a lot of things, a pop star. I really, for the first time with this band, consider myself a musician because I'm working with people that are serious musically. And what we're trying to do is better the world of popular alternative rock, quote unquote, with an ensemble feel of bass guitar, drum, a drummer or percussionist, as we'll call him, because he's changing his the drumming from a standard trap kit. A vocalist, but we also have a samplist who works with us. And that samplist can make any sound he wants, from a flute to a trumpet to a horn of a car or a bicycle. And so we're trying to better music. We're trying to put music into the future. And I don't think it's return to the street at all because we're trying to be very creative and artistic about music and just look at it in a musical sense and how to better it from an artistic point of view.
One labor here, guys. Just so your live performance involves dancers, different guys, or like fire eaters, and it's sort of you used the term that it's sort of taking on the characteristics of a flying freak show. Is that your idea of what the future for this band is, and the future of alternative music is? A lot of non-musical elements thrown into the stage.
It's our vision of what a live show could be. It doesn't have to be what other people are going to do.
We like to, you hear the audio, we like to put visuals into it as well. Us four on stage is a visual sight to see us play. But there's other things that we see in the music that we like to bring and introduce to the audience. And they can interpret it themselves. And then when they go home, they hear the music. And then again, they'll see what we showed them. And it'll take on a whole new meaning for them.
So it enhances their perception of the music.
It enhances us as well. As a musician, when I see someone blowing fire or doing whatever they do, I'm going to play differently. It changes the whole environment.
I see. It kind of gives it a sense of the occasion or a sense of event.
Well, it definitely becomes an event. What? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But I think that
It'll be something else.
to sit in the room and play the music, us four, it's very normal. But when we start adding these other attractions, it puts something in everybody's mind. Everybody on stage, everybody working, everybody watching. It gives you an edge. You're not sure what's going to happen next. You're on the edge, and it makes it a little more exciting for me as a player.
We must say though that coming over to this country, we had to strip down our show because we couldn't bring all but one dancer with us. But she's a terrific ballerina who's Japanese by nationality. She was born here. And we brought her because, her family, we wanted her family to see her and be proud, and we love her. And she can do a lot of different numbers. She was in most of the numbers, so we brought her with us. But all the other people we had to leave back because this is our first time to Japan. But we hope to be invited back again in the future. We're going to go home, and after this, we're stopping to play live. We're going to do more recording because we've only done one album so far, and it's almost like we're ahead of ourselves. People expect so much from us, but we're going to stop what we're doing live and go and do more recordings, because that's really what's left behind from a musician. Is just the music.
The body of work.
He was kind of assuming that you might be trying to represent what's your an ideal world on stage. You thought you were trying to like create some sort of a concept of what you would consider the ideal world on stage, not necessarily musically, just an ideal place to be, a utopia type thing on stage. It's not necessarily that as much as
No.
Artistic stimulation.
Yes.
Where's this been against Jane's Addiction? Seems like Jane's Addiction was, you were a much more sort of nervous, jumpy character in Jane's Addiction, whereas here, you guys seem more relaxed, happy, natural, and going with the flow.
There's a few ways to answer it. I mean, the times are different. You know, Jane's Addiction started in 1986, and things are different then. And you really can't. It's hard to compare because one girlfriend's got big tits. I mean, that doesn't mean one's better or worse. It's just our natural progression is to become this. And I think the way the songs are written, it's gonna make us act the way we do on stage, or. I'll pass this question.
Well,
Want me to answer?
Yeah, there was a second part of the question I left out though. Was it because like you sort of spontaneously came together as opposed to being, I guess, assembled?
Well, the reason that I'm less jumpy is, for one, what we did with Jane's Addiction has been done now by a lot of bands. There's a lot of bands copying the persona that I had personally as far as frontman, with kids jumping all over the place and trying to carry the whole thing. To me, to see another band do that is a cliche. That's why I think the idea of bringing in all the characters that we do on stage came about, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to be the singer in this ensemble, be part of a musical unit. But if we're going to do something live, I didn't want the focus to be on me. I wanted the focus to be on the entertainment that's being surrounded on, and I wanted to supply the voice. So I think, number one, it adds longevity to myself, and number two, it's a more refreshing, because it's now, like I say, the persona of the jumpity, fidgety lead singer has been done so many times that I, first of all, don't want to keep imitating myself. I've seen enough people go on in their careers and continually imitate themselves, and I can tell you that you end up falling short and it's a dead end. And I would like to keep reinventing myself and what I do on stage and where I stand in this whole scheme of things. I like the idea of just to start off with being the singer in the musical unit, because I can become anonymous. I could come into the forefront if I want, but I could take a back seat and let other things happen. And that, to me, is much more interesting for a crowd when they don't know what to expect. I'll always be there, and if they ever wanted to watch me sing, I still dance and everything, but I just think that, in the old days, they used to have a live piano player playing to silent movies. But you didn't sit there and look at the piano player, you looked at the silent screen. And to me, a live rock band, it only goes so far visually. You see the people playing, and that's great, but live, I think there's a lot more visual stimulation that could be supplied to an audience. And I want to try to do that when we play live. To tell you the truth, my favorite thing is not exactly playing live. My favorite thing is to write songs and to record songs. And I want to try to do more of that, but we're caught up in a system that the modern musician has got to do a lot of live touring. It's a very difficult thing. We're trying to pave a new path for musicians, and it takes a lot. You take a lot of lumps when you do that, and our road has not been a very easy road for this band. We've had a lot of heart failure, heartaches and depressions in trying to do this, because I don't think people were expecting what we gave them. They expected to see just a regular live band, and what we gave them was so different that even the promotion wasn't quite up to par. And so we've had a lot of setbacks and heartaches, but we're forging a new path, and we've been told by a lot of musicians that are legendary people like Neil Young, that we should continue doing what we're doing because we're breaking ground, and not to get discouraged. So we're going to keep doing that. But I must say, it's been very, I could cry sometimes thinking about the problems that we've had to face, because...
What kind of problems do you talk about? Like just the
Well,
organization side?
The organizational side of things, people, we're doing something new. We're trying to cross cabaret and rock and cirque and all these things, and it's never been done. And we're being promoted as a regular rock band. And also we've got the reputation that comes with Jane's Addiction, which is another reason why I wanted to take more of a back seat and get in with these musicians. These musicians are better. They're, as an ensemble, this unit is musically more alert and more sophisticated and connected with each other. And I mean, they're as good as I am musically. As what I am as a singer, they're as good musically, and they deserve as much attention as I do. And it's very difficult to get that going because I started first, and I have a reputation already. And that's another part of the heartache, is to try to get people to recognize the musicians that we have. Because they want to focus on me as a character and a personality, but the truth of the matter is, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that everybody in this band is as clever musically as I am with their instrument. With their instrument, they're the cream of the crop, and it's been difficult for me because I see their frustration. They want to be recognized too. And people want to just keep putting my picture there, when I know in my heart, that everybody musically is just as alert and just as sophisticated.
So you may be under a mistaken impression, because he, like in the last question, referred to you as sort of like a very happy, carefree bunch of musicians, but as you just pointed out, Perry, in excruciating detail, that has not been the case at all. The question here was, I said, the perception may be mistaken, but his question was, what keeps you so happy and carefree? But obviously, I think we should redirect our attention here.
Maybe the question could be what keeps us alive.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's the songs, man.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. What keeps you alive?
What keeps me alive personally is I know that beyond all this heartache, I mean, it's been personal. I've had personal problems and I've had professional problems, but I still know deep in my heart that the group that I've chosen to work with, is still the best group of people that I can work with to put together songs. And more than anything, I love to make music. I love to write songs and I love to record them. And so until somebody pulls me off of this planet, I want to work with these people in a studio recording, because I know that we can make the best songs, and I know that we have the best band. I mean, I'll say that without fear of sounding like a braggart. We have the best band, and we have the capacity to put together the best songs popular music has to offer. But it's a very difficult path when you're trying to be the first to do something. And sometimes it makes you feel like you're going to cry and you want to give up.
So I would shrivel up and blow away. The tour, the fun, all this shit is nothing without the songs that we write, sitting together and showing us the parts and figuring out where the pockets go and where and how the melody works. That makes my heart go.
Yeah.
That's love. So that's what keeps us alive.
Question about, I guess, your views on life in general, the sort of the views that would fuel your music, that sort of propel your music, or the philosophies that are responsible for the way you perform. This is based on a quote you made once, Perry, but it's obviously for the whole group. And you once said that everybody's born an angel, but is eventually enslaved or becomes a slave or something to that effect.
Well,
Do you remember what you said?
no.
That's
I
a nice one, though.
Well, I believe that everybody's born basically pure, and it's just what happens to you in life that causes you to retaliate and eventually become a demon.
Fight back.
Yeah. I myself, I live a lot in hell. Sometimes I feel like I live within a nightmare. I live within a nightmare a lot more than I live within peace. And
Well, why is that?
I'm not really sure why. I think that artistically it stimulates me a lot more than when I'm at total peace. And I find that people that play the music that's really, really peaceful for the most part are not really that well loved. Like people that play new age music. You'll notice that the youth don't really adhere to that. And I think it's because most people themselves are mostly living in hell. And I think that's why they relate to what we do. And a lot of times I try to straighten myself out and say, now I want to have a good, clean life. And I find that I get very bored and I start believing that I'm losing what it is people expect. And then I start thinking to myself, well, should I try to ruin my life a little bit? Should I try to dirty it up? And I find that I don't have to try. Life comes along and it will dirty itself for you. I don't think my life is any more troublesome or than anybody else's life. Just as an artist, you're more sensitive to things. Like somebody might have had something that happened to them worse than my life experiences. Except whatever comes into my life, I feel it very strongly. Whether it's love or whether it's hate or pain or pleasure. I know one thing, that I'm sensitive. I don't know if I'm necessarily smart or anything like that, but I know that all of us are very sensitive people, and I think that's why kids can relate to us more than anything, is because we can take our life experiences and really portray them, and people can really feel like I know where he's been. I've been there.
As a musician or as a writer, you have the opportunity to ventilate your happiness or like the horrible things you've been through. You can express them. You can let them out. You can write songs about them. You can make music around them. Other people don't have that. You work in an office and you're still like sitting in your office working, and you still have all that pain or happiness in your life. Thank God we're able to do something with it, and other people can listen to that and relate and think like, yeah, actually I have that too. That's one great thing about being a musician or being a writer or being, you can really express yourself.
You talked about people being in an office, but don't you think you're speaking to a younger audience maybe? Like people who've not gone out in the world and started working yet?
Well, no, I'm also speaking to the older people that are working in the office, and they're listening to other people like maybe Neil Young or something. They have their music, they have classical music. That's the same thing. Maybe different writers do the same thing for them.
But I know before I had a tragedy happen in my life, a sad song can make me feel very sad, even though nothing really sad has happened to me. I still relate to what a beautiful sad song this is before anything sad has happened to me. So I think everybody's got these emotions in them, and they start coming out as you grow up. Or maybe the younger audience doesn't have all these feelings someone in the office does that's been through hell and he's 45 and he's very unhappy. But you still have those feelings. I hear a guitar, you can go, and I feel the way his guitar sounds, If I hear something really sad and beautiful, that's the way I feel. And I think, anybody with who can understand what we're playing will get that through the music.
Right. So maybe the music unlocks emotions they're trying to
Sure.
get at.
Like when you go see a movie and a sad scene comes up and you cry, you're not crying for those characters. You might be crying for something that happened in your own life. And this scene is bringing it out. And music can do that to me.
I don't like
People. One way you could look at this is like the person who is trying to remain pure, like trying to sort of fight back against society in his attempt to remain pure, is seen as demon-like by those around him or by society. Is that a common perception, you think?
Well, that's a very good, that's a very poetic way to look at life. I just think, well, does anybody else want to answer that?
Well, I think you should answer that
Why?
because you were about to say something. You said that you thought it was very.
I think that was a very poetic quote, but I don't think that that it's necessarily the person that's trying to remain pure is looked upon as demonic in society. I think that you're looked upon as demonic in society if you are demonic. I mean, and I'm not saying that I'm pure at all. I really feel that I'm very polluted. And it's sad because I played with the devil out of boredom and out of curiosity. And every time I do, I find myself very sad for having done it. But there's something that's very strong that draws you towards something very attractive about the dark side of life. When I think about where I want to be, I don't think about being surrounded by a group of Bible-loving people. I think those people are very boring people. I think that they try to stay in line they try to stay in line, and they have no sense of humor, and they're guided by a book. And I just don't think they have a very big zest for life. I think they're dead, and they're dead, half dead in their souls, and they're being led around by an old rhetoric. But at the same time, when I play with the people that are on the demonic side too long, I get just as sad because I yearn for peace. So I think I came to the conclusion that the best thing you can do is live a life of yin-yang, where you stress for a little while and then you try to find peace. And after you have been in peace for long enough time, you once again try to get into stress so that you can exorcise the devil. The ideal situation would be to have God and the devil dancing together, to teach them both to dance with each other. And that would be the ideal way. Unfortunately, because we're humans and not gods ourselves, we have no control over the devil or over God, and life gets out of balance. God and the devil are both much too strong for us to know how to contain and put it in proper perspective. Usually, your life gets out of whack. But I don't know. For as long as I'm alive, I just want to try to keep living an interesting life and a life of curiosity. I'm just a curious person by nature.
The subject of orgasm appears in some of the songs. There's a song called Orgasm. Is there a positive side and a negative side to orgasm? Or sex, for that matter?
Yeah.
So maybe you should narrow it down.
Marty.
I've had good sex and I've had bad sex. For the last couple of months I haven't had good sex. And I'm hoping when I get back to have some good sex, finally. And I'm telling you this because I know that Eva doesn't read Japanese.
He's going to narrow it down.
Orgasm is the stairway to heaven, but once you get to heaven and you orgasm, then what?
So,
Then you're up there, and you got to go back down.
Right.
So, I think an orgasm, it's got pluses and minuses, of course. I mean, there's nothing. The few minutes of having an orgasm is it's heaven. Then again, you might be after that. You might be with the girl you don't really like, and you might be sickened, or you might.
That's what he was getting at.
Yeah.
He's saying how sexuality can entail a certain negative side or a positive side, and that's what he was asking about. So you obviously were talking about the possibility of the negative side.
Sure.
What you've done to get to that orgasm is maybe not on the total balance is not the greatest thing in the world. Is that something that has been dealt with in the lyrics here? Why do you think you come up with a question?
Well, for my reasons, first of all, I believe there is a negative side to sex. The first thing is that when you orgasm, there is death involved. The man, like to die in my lap, I believe Shakespeare once said. That was about orgasm. To have an orgasm for a woman is to die in her lap. I've been so scared by pornography from time to time because I've dealt with such evil manners of sex and sexuality. I've gone so far with my sex and sexuality and the experimentation of it that when I saw pornography, a pornographic film, I was literally scared to death and couldn't look at it for weeks or almost months at a time.
Well, what kind of stuff was in it?
Well, look, there are things that are deep-rooted in everybody's psyche. Things like well, let's talk about the subject of Michael Jackson for a second. The fact that he likes to have sex with children.
We say the fact, it hasn't proven.
Oh, I'm sorry. The
assertion he likes.
The assertion that he has. But there are people that do like to have sex with children. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I like to have sex with children. I myself, I can see why a person would get turned on by it. I think it's morally incorrect. But you can let your mind go and experiment sexually with all these ideas: homosexuality, bestiality, children would be pedophilia, necrophilia,
And you can in your mind. You're saying
you can experiment with all these things, and I don't think that they're all. Somebody has to really need it. Otherwise it wouldn't exist on this planet. Somebody does get off on it on this planet. There are people that do get off on it. But it can also be very, very vicious and a very big negative and can give you terrible feelings of guilt and make you, morally hate yourself. And I've experimented a lot with sex and have felt very guilty for the things that I've done. I've never gone and crossed the line, and to me it's got to be consenting adults. And I've always had sex with consenting adults, but the experimentation that I've done with just the mind trip, the fantasies, has left me, I believe, damaged from it.
Guilt?
Yeah, bad feelings of guilt. So much so, as they say, that when I saw pornography on a television, I had to change it because I felt that sex was practically evil at this point in my life. To even, I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. But on the other side of the coin, there can be nothing more beautiful than being in love and having a mutual orgasm with someone you love. And I think that's the best part of sex. I think it could be, a beautiful thing, but I also have experienced evil parts of sex.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to be taken lightly. It could drive you insane.
Sex to me is only worth it when I'm really in love with a person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't have to even try it.
Yeah,
No.
I don't like it when I'm not in love either. I used to have sex almost daily. I was a sex addict. But I agree with Martine that I have stopped to the point where I don't even want to know a girl's name or anything unless I feel like it's going to go somewhere and I have the feeling of love, and it's been very difficult because you don't get that every day. And so the abstinence from it it's another one of these personal things, as I say, this is also going on within the framework of this professional world of ours, where we've all struggled inner turmoil because we've had love lost. Each member of the band has had love lost. And I think we're all maturing. It's not like the old days where the groupies would come around and you just fuck them, you know. I mean, I've done that in the past. But for some reason, maybe it's from growing and learning and burning out of it, but I don't enjoy doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't enjoy giving my body to a stranger anymore. It feels very uncomfortable to me.
愛というそういうセックスがね、曲によって彼が言ってるな。
We got you all this stuff here.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
The thing he was saying, the thing about romantic relationships is that they often entail sort of like a master and a follower relationship. One leads and the other follows, and it can get into sort of kind of ugly personal politics. And do you think that you're talking about achieving a certain satisfaction from sex or orgasm because it's a real relationship? Do you think you have to go even beyond that point where the politics no longer matter either? Can a relationship be mired in a certain area and then you go beyond that, and that's when it becomes really something special or worthwhile, rewarding?
Well, I think it'd be beautiful if all things were equal,
Yeah.
but it's
impossible.
Yeah, it's almost
You
impossible.
can't
to have
strike a
things like-
perfect balance.
I think it's nice to play different changing roles.
Sure.
And I think that what my utopian thought of a relationship would be to change roles, try different roles, and come to the conclusion that the woman and the man can exchange roles, or the man and the man can exchange roles, and you just love each other unconditionally. And it's just at the spur of the moment how you feel and what you want to be. If you want to be a slave for that afternoon, you
Right.
yourself can be the slave and not always have to be the master. And that only comes through an understanding and time
Acceptance.
and growth and knowing another person.
Communication.
Going through different, spending time with the person. And to me, I think more than anything, it's got to be through love. Because you have to be able to unconditionally understand that person and understand their, what they need and why they need it. And you have to know them and their background and why they are like they are and why they need what they need.
Without knowing these things, you might judge them, or when you find
Yeah.
out the real person, you can accept them and change roles, like you said.
I guess people are just basically complex. It takes a long time to figure out.
Very
You bet.
complex.
Yeah.
And then with things that happen to you every day, you're changing yourself. So you might think you know someone, 2 weeks later you don't.
なんていうの、基本的にその人間って複雑なもんでね、その人を知るまでは。Metaphorical question about America. Is America what you consider a home? You want a home you should go home to, or is it a father whose sins you should atone for?
Wow.
The father who sent you to the what?
A father whose sins you should atone for.
Okay, I'm not American. So,
What nationality?
I'm Dutch.
That's all right.
Yeah. I consider it a home, but I could also consider Europe a home. I could also find a home in another country, in Bali, Indonesia, or
Yeah.
I can find a lot of different places and call them my home. And I haven't found the one place that I really want to call home yet.
As far as you calling it a father whose sins we should atone to, I think that we're from a different generation, and maybe you're talking about the fact that America's been very warlike in the past, but you're talking about almost a different race of people than what we are. We're artists. We're not warlike, and we have really nothing to do with that side of the country. I don't really know any Republicans, people that believe in the idea of war. I like America just because I happen to know the language, and I know where to the quickest place to get a hamburger or to buy food. But I find that when I go to different, I mean, we travel so much, and I find that what makes a place is the people, and there's always good people. There's always artists in every community, in every part of the world, and that's really what counts. There are better places, some places that are better than others. I think architecture has got a lot to do with where I like to live.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy places that have good architects. I care about their architecture, and I care about climate. I like living in Los Angeles because it's got interesting architecture and a very good climate. But as far as people, I think there's the people. You can find good people anywhere, and if I had to, I could live, anywhere in this world. As long as there was an artist community to be found there, and there's an artist community everywhere around the world.
Take these out before the pictures.
God, the pictures are gonna be strange. I don't want to pose. You know what I mean?
We're not gonna have to be ourselves the way we are today. Who we
Let's
are
tell
today.
him, whoever the man is at.
彼の
We
シーンを
prefer for them to pose us, take the pictures as if we're just mannequins. You know what I mean?
歌詞の
It's interesting. Yeah. So we have
詩の
to.
詩のこと
Yeah, we don't want to play to the camera. We want the man to
Especially the way we feel today.
position us.
はい
だから彼の死に向かってね、
家庭的な if you're okay, it's a hypothetical question. That's what I'm having trouble with. If your death could achieve something, if the world could gain something from your demise, what would you want it to be?
Why don't you go with that one?
An example of somebody who had ambition and did something with their life, left a mark, did something for the world, didn't just, wasn't just born and died and left nothing behind. We left art behind. I left music behind. I was somebody who left something behind for the world.
Created something for the joy of life.
Exactly.
My brother actually just died a few months ago, and he was a school teacher. And after he died, I realized that his life it was so important. I mean, I made 10,000 kids might come see me play and go home and oh, that was great, but he taught little kids, and I think I learned a lot from his death that I can just have to be more involved in my personal relationships, and I would like to learn. I mean, that's what I learned from his death. From my death, I don't know what I would want to leave behind as what people would learn from me. But after my brother died, I learned that you have to love unconditionally, and really, it takes a lot of work to get things done right.
For me, myself, I guess first of all, I don't want to die. I very, very much want to live. So that the question, it throws me a little bit because my thoughts are on living very, very hard and not dying because I feel like I'm too close to death right now, and I don't want to die. Yes, I feel very close to death.
Why is that?
Because I've played around with death too many times, and I
Can't always win.
yeah, and I'm running out of chances. I want to live very, very much. But if my death were to come, I think that more than anything what I would want people to gain from it would be the sense that they should stick to the integrity, the truth of what their heart's desire was, and not stray from it or let other people stray them from it, and to try to do what they want. Me on an artistic level, that's what I've been trying to do, and that's what I would hope that people would gain from my death. They would see that I didn't stray from what I really wanted to do. I didn't let people move me through the use of money or power or fame. That I was true to myself as an artist. but I don't want to die at all. I would love to live a lot longer. So,
Question here.
All right.
What do you want right now, and what do you want over the long term, over the long span of time? What do you want now, immediately, what do you want over the long term?
Personally,
Yeah.
that is a deep question.
Happiness
Uh,
and happiness,
Little happiness.
both now.
Right now,
and
actually,
long-term.
I want my band to come together and be as one. And for the future, I'd like to have a family.
now I'd like to record the songs that we have written, and in the future to continue to write great songs and to continue to record.
for myself, I would like to learn how to be organized and how to be an adult immediately. I would like to learn how to live and possibly even learn how to become a family, part of a family, a real family. I mean, have a woman and a child and grow, because it's something I don't really know how to do yet. And in the future, I would like to learn how to defend and to nurture my family and to keep creating and be as vital as I am at this point artistically.
You said happiness.
Right now, he wants his middle tooth fixed. And
Yeah. I got punched in the face 10 days ago and I have a concussion and my tooth broke
I
off.
want that healed.
And I have a ring in my ear that I want to go away.
Why were you assaulted?
I was in the wrong place, too close to death. And,
That's terrible, though. Why would somebody...
well, it's not that surprising, really, you know. The places I used to go to almost every day, if not every day, I mean, I kind of invited, you know, violence to be inflicted on me. So I've seen a lot of guns, I've seen a lot of violence, and I've put myself in dangerous places, and I want to get out of them.
It's a good idea.
So, well, the punching is not even the worst, you know, it's worse,
Yeah.
it's a gun against your face, it's a lot worse.
Maybe you should stay in Japan for a little longer. They have gun laws here.
Yeah, well, maybe I should just try to change my life a little bit. And I want to be with these 4 guys, make music, and I also would like to be with my wife. And that's what I want to do.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So I guess...
Thank you.